My Gavana Melanin. Today's video is all about the archetype of the sage, the magician, and the creator or the artist. Now, if you have not watched my other videos on the archetypes, I suggest you do, and you can find the link in the description below. But an archetype is basically a pattern of behavior or type of characteristics or attributes that the whole entire collective of the world will recognize when they see it. And souls can actually take on the archetypes within themselves, and when they come into the world, it determines the type of path that you're set on. It's like your type of character that you play in your story, and the events in your life will unfold to match up and align to those particular archetypes that you come into the world with. Now, sometimes we can embody an archetype and we can forget about our higher selves. So Carl Jung was really interested in understanding the subconscious programming that happens when we embody the archetypal energy within us, and we forget about our higher self that actually can embody all of the archetypes within our being. And so it's important to know when we are taking on these particular archetypes, and it's fun as well because then we can understand why we do certain things that we do and why we are drawn to certain things in our life. And so the magician archetype I want to talk about first. The magician archetype is seen in Gandalf as well as in the elves in Lord of the Rings. And this goes a little bit more beyond just being able to call on the elements and produce magic when it is needed for the fellowship. The magician is able to transform things. And so when a human being comes into the world and takes on a particular magician archetype, they will be drawn to doing magic. They will be drawn to performing magic, but more so than that, if they never ever get into witchcraft or Wiccan or anything like that that actually uses everyday magic in a way to enhance their life experience, then if you take on the magician archetype, you will be somebody that has tapped into that potential and that power within them to transform things and actually do personal alchemy and also alchemy for others around them. Because alchemy is the actual transition from one thing of a state to another state. And so this can actually take place far more than just with metals, but actually the inner parts of our being. So when you are a magician and you may be around certain people, people may be drawn to you and come to you to help them transform their lives in some kind of way, to actually take an event that they might have had and to transform the perspective of it so that they can move on and move past that event. There's other ways of doing magic than just calling on magical spirits or using a wand and doing spells. There's a type of transformation type of magic that you can do. And when you are in touch with this archetype, you may take on this type of property and quality in your life. Being able to know that you have this magical power within you to transform things into what you would like them to be. The whole thing about the magicians, the sage, and the artist and the creator is that those archetypes actually represent the spiritual realm of the omniverse. And so what we have in this world is we have different representatives of the universal consciousness that we all come from. There is both freedom, and there is order, and there is community, and then there is spiritual. And then community soul types, they are very focused on the material world, but not in a bad way, but in a way that they connect souls. And I spoke about that in my other video. But the spiritual, they will be the ones that are more in tune with the inner experience, and they will be also connected to the spiritual or the astral planes. So when you come into the world with this type of archetype within you, you will be somebody that's always been able to communicate to spirits or at least sense energies that are not on earth. And so the magician is able to take this information that they gather from the spiritual world and use it in a way to transform their lives and the lives of others. And that's what it really means to be a magician. It's far more than about just doing spells. It is about transformation, taking one thing and turning it into another. And that is magic. It brings in a magical element to everyday life, to be able to see the immaterial and spiritual miracles that can occur when someone taps into that potential within themselves. So Gandalf absolutely represented this. He was able to call on fire, and it would appear on the staff when he would take them through the dark caves of Moria. And there were lots of different times where he would perform magic, and you would see that. And the elves have a certain type of magic that Tolkien described as art beyond the limitation of mankind. So the elves had this type of instant connection to the spiritual realm, and whatever they thought of instantly became true because they were so connected to the immaterial realm of consciousness and the spiritual realms of existence. And that is a great power that is unlimited, whereas on the physical earth, you may experience a limitation because we are bound by these particular laws of matter so that we can have this experience. But when your mind is connected to something beyond this world, you will become instantly an unlimited person of true potential and understand a greater power within yourself. And that is what the magician archetype is all about. Now, some people will be born with this and they will follow this kind of pathway in their life where they're just drawn to magical tales and magical stories, and they will be drawn to magical characters that they watch in movies or in books, and they will feel themselves as magical beings, and they will actually be witches or wizards, and they will consider themselves as having a bit of magic within them. But then you can also gain this archetype later on. It happens when you awaken to your true potential of power as a creator inside. And I'll get more into that when we talk about the creator archetype, because that is another type of way of awakening to your own inner potential and power. Now, the obstacles that the magician has is that we see this in Saruman, that the magician knows their power inside. And yes, they are connected to the spiritual realms, but there is a type of balance that they need to keep in their lives always to remain a good soul. Because the moment that they get in touch with this power, there might become a temptation to dominate over others or to use their power in a negative way. So that's why we have this idea in witchcraft that what you put out into the world as far as a spell or an intention, it will come back to you 3 times. So it's a consequence on your spirit when you are in a state of unawareness and you're really stuck in kind of the lower dimensions of chakras, but you're still a powerful being, but you wish to dominate over others and you wish to kind of take from them and take their energy. That is the obstacle of the magician. They need to get over that need to dominate over others or to take others' energies and just realize the power within themselves and understand that a life of a magician that uses their power for good and never to take or negative type of black dark magic is somebody that will have a more peaceful life. They will not create enemies, and they will not have the spiritual consequences of getting that type of spell that you put out there. The black magic that you put out there will come back to you in another way and another form, and it will harm you in some kind of way. So that is the obstacle of the magician, and Saruman unfortunately did not pass that because he wanted to join with Sauron in his dominating over Middle Earth, and he really wanted that power to himself. And so some magicians will find that might be a temptation. So try to get past that temptation within yourself, and you will remain on a good path, and you will remain really aligned to the collective and bringing harmony rather than being one of discord and moving away from the collective. And that can really bring a lot of spiritual isolation later on. The next archetype I want to speak about is the sage archetype. Now, the sage archetype is somebody that is able to take all the information from both this material world and the spiritual realm and to be able to help other souls, to give advice or counsel when needed. So a sage is somebody that has lived many, many lifetimes, just like all souls. We are all infinite energy, but they are aware of it. And because of their awareness of their other lifetimes, they're able to take that information and to be able to gather all of their experiences in all of their lifetimes and to be able to help others out of their suffering states and to remind others of the deeper potential within themselves. Galadriel was a sage archetype as well as the other elves because Gandalf would bring the fellowship to them in order to get advice or counsel on their journey. He wanted them to be able to tap into the spiritual realm and get information about their particular journey to the Mount Doom and what was going to happen. That's why Gandalf brought the fellowship to them. He wanted to get that counsel. Now, Tolkien said that one thing about somebody who is very wise and would be recognized as a sage archetype, many times they will not give advice of do this or do that, but they will suggest because they understand that all souls are equal in their power and equal in their potential to learn. And it is best always to be able to learn on your own. You learn far more than actually if somebody tells you what to do. If you learn it on your own and discover it, that type of information that you have acquired in that lifetime will be far more powerful to you than somebody telling you what to do. So that is why Tolkien said that be aware, if you go to the elves for counsel, they will not say yes or no, because that is very important about somebody that truly wants to teach rather than direct, because directing is one thing, but you're not allowing for the freedom. And the sage has far more wisdom within them from all of their life experiences, and they're attached or connected to the spiritual realm. They see the higher potential within everybody that they speak to. And so they know that all that soul needs is just a mirror in that moment and to let them know that they have this power within them. And that is something that really is what a sage is here to do, is to be able to bring the spiritual knowledge or the information from the immaterial world, the astral planes, and the universal consciousness that we're all connected to, and act as a mirror or a guidance to other souls that may get lost. That is kind of what a sage is really supposed to do, is to help the souls that may get lost and are in their suffering states and are kind of stuck in a cycle. It is a way of awakening other souls, and that is really the job of the sage. Now, the sage archetype, if you are born with the sage archetype, then you will be a very unique little child because you'll have that kind of old soul, and people might call you old souls. We are all the same age, but the sage archetype is one that will reflect the old age of all souls to all souls. So they will be a mirror as they are young children to adults and to their fellow young children friends. But it's hard for a sage to be really truly understood in this world except if they meet another sage soul. That is because a sage really kind of operates from the spiritual realm and is really connected to that higher information to give to others. And so sometimes they're not really understood by other souls that might not be tapped into the spiritual realm as much or focused on it, because an archetype really is about your attention and your focus, and it's your choice of what you choose to be like in the world and present yourself as a soul and express your power of creation. And the sage archetype, if you are not born with it, I believe that all souls can actually embody the sage archetype if they make one type of choice to stop or to help the suffering of other fellow souls around them. The moment you make that choice, and the moment you decide to be a guiding light or someone that can be a counsel to others, to help others. The moment you feel inside of you the suffering of others and you want to help them, and more so than physically help, but it's about spiritual help. You want to help them understand their potential because you have awoken to your own, and you have awoken to the information that everybody has the same type of inner potential. So a sage will become a sage once they decide to help and stop the suffering of others. It is like the path of a bodhisattva or a shaman. That is really what a sage is. It's an older soul that represents the ancientness of the universe, to be able to give guidance and counsel whenever other souls that are unaware of themselves need a little bit of a reminder of who they truly are inside. The obstacle of the sage is for them to remain patient with the souls that are reflecting the younger or the unconscious or the unaware states of the universe. So a sage that comes in aware and conscious of themselves and of the higher power, they need to stay patient. And that is what the elves were able to do. They were known for their patience. So they were a good representative of that. Because if a sage, the moment a sage gets frustrated and impatient with others, that is when you can start to really spiral down into depression and sadness. So you just have to remind yourself that everybody has the potential within, and we are all creators, equally powerful. And so when a sage keeps reminding themselves of that, then they can allow people to go on the journey, and they can do what they can to guide them or to help them when they are called to. But it is really about allowing souls their own personal journey and their own growth, because when a person does their own type of awakening that comes at their own type of timing and phase, it is far more meaningful to them than somebody telling you what to do. And so a sage just has to keep that in mind, and that, of course, is one of the obstacles, is just to keep patience with the souls that are reflecting the youngness of the universe versus the old energy of the universe. And the last one I will talk about is the artist and the creator. Now, I picked Tolkien to describe this because the artist and the creator is someone that I believe that he got in touch with in order to write his amazing stories. And he even said that we are sub-creators with the one creator, because he was a Catholic himself. So he believed in something higher than his ego, which is wonderful, and I think everybody should, because what is higher than the ego is the collective. It's a bigger part of yourself and a bigger part of everyone. And so when you take on the archetype of the artist and the creator, you are going to be drawn to expressions from the spiritual realm and the realm of consciousness. You will be able to create beautiful works of art and music and bring that spiritual realm for everybody to see on earth. You will represent that, and you can do it as a young child, and you can also do it as an adult. The one thing that this has in common with the magician and the sage is that the artist and the creator type is always in touch with the higher parts of themselves that really just wants to experience and express their essence, their soul essence on earth. So Tolkien took all of the values that he had inside him, and he understood himself to be a creator, and he said this in some of his writings, that he was enchanting the world in a way because he was creating what he would like to see on earth. That the values that he introduced in these characters, such as the loyalty, the patience, the integrity, and the friendship between the characters, when he introduced these values, he was really kind of putting a spell on those that read it so that he could enchant them and bring them into inspiration themselves. And that is what a creator archetype will be able to do: create new worlds and new ideas bring forth new things never before seen on earth. And when you get in touch with that inner power within yourself as a creator soul, that is when you will enter into that archetype. Now, you may be somebody that embodies both the sage and the creator and the artist and the magician all in one. And you may have the other ones as well. You may be a lover, and you may be even a trickster. All of these archetypes you can embody, and they make a very unique soul expression that you are on earth. But the one thing about the creator archetype that I believe is that it is kind of the last one that you take on when you truly awaken in your life and you know that you have this power, you have all these unique skills and abilities that you came into the world with in order to express. It's like you doing your own kind of big bang where you allow a whole new universe to exist. And you open the eyes of others and you show a new creation for them. And that's what Tolkien did. And that's why he is so loved. Good artists on this earth, they have introduced something new. They have created something new for others to see. And all human souls will recognize that within that particular soul. And they will say, wow, they really brought on something new into the earth. And that is when they get in touch with their God self or their goddess self, when they are in touch with the creator within, that powerful force that can create new universes for all to experience, new worlds for all to enjoy. So, the obstacle of this archetype would be a little bit like the magician, in that keep on the path of creating something that's going to expand life and will allow people to be inspired and other souls to feel love and to feel hope and to feel joy. Because when a creator decides to create nothing but destruction and darkness and things that are going to tear souls down, they really take on this God complex, and that is when they decide to take others' lives. And so sometimes we have people in this world that believe that they are in charge of everyone and that they should be the one to decide who lives and who dies. And that is somebody who is creating things that are not going to be good for the collective, but they are only going to benefit the self. And when you service the self, you get more and more isolated from the whole. And the more isolated from the whole, it takes you more lifetimes to figure out the true joy and the happiness that you are seeking. Because all souls that are isolated from the whole, they are looking for something. They're feeling empty because we are one. And so that is the obstacle for the creator or the artist archetype, is one that when you are creating, make sure that you can create something that will give you joy as well as others. Because if you create something that will give them heartache or suffering or pain, and you decide to take lives or to destroy another's experience in some kind of way, it will not really make you fully in touch and aware of your creator self. You will be in touch with the darker parts of yourself, but you will not incorporate the lighter parts of yourself as well. And so this imbalance happens, and that is what causes suffering within your own life. And you will feel very lost inside. And that is all I have to say about that. Be not so tempted to create something that is going to harm others, but create something that is going to help to express your true essence, your true soul inside of you, and is going to help inspire others and show something brand new. Because I'll tell you what, destructive, dark forces have always been seen on this earth. So it's time that all creator souls get in touch with that part of them, that they can bring something new into the world that is not something that we have seen in the past, with all of the tragedies and the bloodsheds and the disturbing types of human histories that we have gone through. It is time to bring forth something new, something magical, something exciting and inspiring that will bring souls into alignment with one another and help to awaken them all to their own true potential within. And I believe that J.R.R. Tolkien is a very good example of this. We have many, many examples of the creator-artist archetype in this world. And this is someone that awakens to their true potential just like the others as well. So as a child, you may be somebody that's drawn to creating your own things and producing some new projects and things like that. And as an adult, you can grow further into that, discovering more and more of your abilities and your power as your mind increases and your thoughts start to mature. So a creator archetype, whether you're born into it or whether you become it yourself, it is a powerful force on earth to bring forth new experiences to explore as a creator. So I hope this gave you some clarity into what kind of archetype you are embodying in your own life. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Han and Lei.